Earnestly podcast here on a April Fool's. Oh, I don't partake in April Fool's ever. I think it's the dumbest idea of not a holiday, but dumbest idea of a thing to have. But April 1st here, spring. We're now into springtime. The weather's changing here. It's getting a little warmer and warmer. I think we've had our last cold front of the year, of the early part of this year, down in South Florida. Now the weather gets hotter and hotter. But this is April's a fun month for us. April's a fun month for me and my family. This week especially is a big week for our family, and because in 2 days I'll have my anniversary with my wife. We've been married 8 years. Well, we've been married 8 years on the 3rd, and then we got birthdays. Both our kids, Logan, who turns 2 years old the day after on the 4th, and then our oldest, Eli, turns 6 on the 8th of April. So this is a big week for us, and it's so weird how it works out in that way, you know. Like, we celebrate everything all in one, you know, and then my birthday comes up in May, but that's 2 weeks down the road. But it's just weird how that works out. And it's funny, like, I look back at before I was married, before I started dating my wife, you know, I go back, there are moments where I go back and, it's so long now, because we've been together now, this should be 13 years. This July will be 13 years we've been together as a couple, and then been married 8. And I couldn't imagine my life now without this, a family. And I go back sometimes I look back, you know, before 2006 on my life. And granted, it's a different life back then. I was 25 years old, 26 years old prior to meeting her. And, you know, if you had told me that in 13 years I had a wife, 2 kids, and the responsibilities of a father, considering what I was doing back then, I would have told you no. I mean, I was in a band back then. I was trying to, you know, have our band get signed, hopefully a tour. I wasn't necessarily against the idea of having a family and getting married. I just never thought about, you know, at that point in my life at 26, I'm thinking, well, if it happens, it happens. But right now, I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, at that time, I was dating around, of course, but nothing stuck. You know, you know how it is. But at that point in my life, I was looking for, you know, to get married and get serious and settle down. And you go back now, fast forward 13 years later, and we've now been together 13 years. We've been married 8. We have two wonderful kids, which I love with all my life, all my heart. And it's funny, we are, you know, I don't want to sit and brag about my family, but we are a very simple family for the most part. Like, my wife Lauren and I, we're a very simple couple with simple pleasures, you know. And for our anniversary, we're probably gonna go to an Asian cuisine, probably one of our favorite Asian cuisines, and eat probably either on the anniversary or the day before that, you know. But it is interesting to have our anniversary next to our kids' birthdays. It's really cool. It's really interesting how all these important moments in our lives now are intertwined in the same week, you know. And, you know, my wife takes anniversary serious. She's always taken it serious, you know. And now having our son's birthday within earshot, within 5 days, you know, our youngest being the day after, you know, my oldest being 5 days after. It's just weird how life works, you know. So I don't want to, you know, ramble too much on that, but this is the big week. This is our biggest week, because it's not about me or my wife in general. It's about us and what we've created, and it's funny how that works out. How us come together and what we've the fruit of our labor, you know, all celebrated in 1 week, the first week of April. It's really fast how that works. And you know, so I never thought about that way until recently. I'm like, wait a second, this is kind of crazy. We got married, we celebrated on a wedding anniversary, and then the same week our kids were born. You know, born that same week of our anniversary. You know, it's kind of a pretty great example of you know, how things work out. So, I mean, it's cool, man. It's really cool. I don't know what we got planned. I mean, our one of the tough things about us right now is schedules, our work schedules, whatnot. And I don't know what we got planned yet in terms of the kids. Obviously, school. I mean, both birthdays on school days, so we may have to do like a half day, and then my wife's schedule and my schedule, intertwines. We're working family, obviously, so it's a lot more challenging these days. When we had Eli, our first kid, it was easy because she stayed home. So if you're making plans, you're making plans around only my work schedule, and that's it. Now you have to work around my work schedule, her work schedule, and then my son's school schedule, obviously. So it's just fascinating how the growth happens. It's really, really cool. But again, big week for the Christian family. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun week. So talk about March Madness, for example. Like I don't like I've once upon a time when I was a kid, I used to love college basketball. Like, and this is back when you had the 45-second shot clock. You had, and the game was actually aesthetically not as pleasing as it is today. Although some say it's not, it's better then than it was now. Personally, I think a shorter shot clock is better than a longer shot clock. I think if the game is moving, it's always better. Yeah, people jack me threes up. I got that. But that's the game today. The game goes in cycles. When one era is post up game, next minute it's half court, then it's the shooting range and all that. But I've always, I used to be a diehard college basketball fan in my teenage years, certainly my early years, watching sports, my teenage years, and then somewhere along the line I just stopped caring as much. Like I love college football. It's funny because I love college football. Like college football to me is on the level of NFL. Like I look forward to every Saturday watching football. I make sure I'm not working during college football season. Like I make sure I have no days planned, Saturday and Sundays. NFL Sundays of course, but Saturdays gets much priority. Now, granted, this is a lot more watered down because, in a sense, there's a lot more games. But again, this is not a league. This is college. But I love college football. I love the grandiose of it. College basketball used to have that. It used to have that. And through the years, and I think a lot of it has to do with the one and done rule now, which hopefully they're changing in this couple of years. But the only time you can really grab me of interest in college basketball is if there's a transcendent player like this year. Zion Williamson was the big transcendent player. And even then, I wasn't watching every Duke game. I watched the highlights or whatever. Plus, it's hard when I'm a diehard NBA basketball fan and you're competing with my love of NBA basketball versus college basketball. Obviously NBA is going to win that in the end. So it's hard for me to stay engaged in college basketball. The conference tournaments are a joke. Although they do produce some really good moments, it really is a joke in the end because it doesn't really mean anything, really. But all my eggs in the basket for March Madness. When it gets to March, after the conference championship, which is kind of like the build up. It's kind of the build up until we get to the actual tournament, championship tournament. And the first Thursday and Friday, I have to admit, the first Thursday and Friday of the first round, to me, is probably the most fun in all sports. And especially in the last couple of years when we've seen a lot more upsets than usual. You've seen some number one seeds go down. You've seen top seeds go down on a regular basis against lower seeds. It's been a lot more fun. Like Thursday and Friday, that first weekend is always that first out the gate, the first 64. It's always the most fun. And then it gets to normal. By the time you get to the Sweet 16, the number one seeds, number 2 seeds for the most part, get the bearings in, and then they dominate the rest of the way. Not so this year. This year's a little different. Duke's out now, by the way, for the record. You have number 5, a 5 seed Auburn in the Final Four. You have if I'm not mistaken, Texas Tech is a 5 seed as well too. Who's the other 2 teams there in the Final Four? Michigan State was a 2 seed, I believe. But again, still beat Duke at the upset. The point is, the only time you'll ever see me getting engaged, and even then, it's sometimes hard because it's hard now because I have kids. Sometimes the kids want. Like today, I think I had the games on. I had on the Auburn game, And I caught most. I thank God I caught the end of it. I mean, there was points in Auburn game I had to take off the game for a little bit because my kids went attention, and I had to take care of the kids. Thank God I have a phone. I was going to watch the game on the phone. But the Duke game today, for example, I missed most of the game till the end because I had my kids and they wanted to watch the, Jake and Neverland Pirates, and my son wanted to go out for a walk and all this stuff, and I had to make dinner, and it's harder. It's harder. But but March Madness to me, it's I love it and I hate it at the same time because whenever I watch March Madness, when I watch the tournament, I feel guilty that I didn't invest any time into the season. And I'm not sitting and saying I'm a front runner, but I'm not gonna pretend I'm a every day. I know what's going on, and I know who's ranked up. Week to week, I know who's number one seeds. You know what I mean? You know who's who, but I'm just not as invested in college basketball like I was in college football, and I hate that I'm not because I do love the sport, but it's hard. It's hard now, And by the way, the shot clock's not gone to 30 seconds, so I'm getting what I want. So in the span of, 30 years I'm watching sports now? I'm watching college basketball. I got to 1990, 1991. It's now 2019. That's now what? That's almost 30 years. So in the span of 29 years, the shot clock has gone from 45 seconds to 30 seconds. Kind of hope it goes to 25 seconds. That'll be my floor, 25 seconds. If they get to 25 seconds, I'd be happy. 30 is okay. 30 is fine. 30 is fine. It's okay. Calm down. But I do feel a lot of guilt not being as a bigger fan of the sport only when it's the last 3 weeks of the year. But again, it's fighting for my love for the NBA basketball. It's also, I don't know. It's just tough. The one and done rule also makes it hard because growing up also, I saw Christian Laettner go to college 4 years. I saw Grant Hill go for 4 years. All those top players went 3 to 4 years. Michael Jordan went 3 years. He went to the draft. Patrick Ewing went 4 years. Play stars now. Like Zion is a star now. He's gonna be gone. He's gonna declare for the draft probably by tomorrow. We'll have this recording probably. Maybe declared already while I'm recording this podcast. So that's part of the reason why I think it's been hard for me to be as attached to college basketball now than I was years back. But again, March Madness also reminds you that there are still some fun points of the sport, and I'll take for what it is. I'll just take for what it is. I can't believe we're about to enter an era, enter a year for the first time in 14 years that LeBron James will not be in the NBA playoffs. Now, we're not surprised the 8-year streak of him going to the finals ended because we knew once he left Cleveland last summer to come to LA, we knew that the chance of him going to the finals through the Western Conference was slim to none. Or none to none, really, because, that Laker team with currently constructed was not beating Golden State, definitely, was not beating Houston, wasn't beating Portland, wasn't beating any of those teams in the Western Conference. So there was no way that was ever going to work out for him. But it's surprising that it's really how bad things got. Again, we shouldn't be surprised that the season was underwhelming in general because I think we all knew the Lakers would be at best maybe a 4 or 5 seed. Some was even saying maybe an 8 seed in the Western Conference. I'm like, no, LeBron healthy, at least a 6 seed, but it's how bad things went. Now we can't forget the Lakers prior to LeBron getting that groin injury back in December. During that Christmas game against Golden State, that they were surging. They actually started to put together. They were actually the 4 seed. I believe the record was 20-14 at the time of the injury. And they beat Golden State. But in that same game, in that third quarter, I believe, when LeBron got that injury, the groin injury, and he missed, I believe, 18 games as a result. And the Lakers fell apart. I think they were 6-13, 6-11. I don't know what the record was, but they struggled without him. And then by the time he got back, they were never the same team. And then on top of that, you lose Lonzo Ball for most of the year, injuries there. Brandon Ingram, has his health issues recently. So the team never really gels. So on one hand, we can blame LeBron, we can blame Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, the front office, all that. And Certainly, you are of right to do that. No one's saying you're not. You have right to do that. But I think a lot of things playing. The Lakers need a perfect spades. They need a runner to make this work. At least to them to get to the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference this year, which again is still 1 through 8, pretty damn good. These next 12 months are going to be absolutely important for this franchise. And people say, well, why not the summer? Well, I'm saying 12 months because Anthony Davis won't be a free agent until next year. So Anthony Davis could technically come to LA still on his own next summer in 2020. And if that happens, okay, they get him. But, they can still trade for him between now and then, but they tried to trade for him during the year, and they gave the entire farm away. And the Pelicans went up to do business with the Lakers. So, it's going to be interesting. It's very interesting how things work out. But these next 12 months are absolute urgency for the Lakers franchise. Because here's the thing, too. If they don't get a star, not just Anthony Davis, but any other star, it could be Jimmy Butler, it could be Klay Thompson, any stars that's available in the market between now and next year. Let's not forget, LeBron James is now 30, will be 35 next year. And certainly he's still, it can be argued that he isn't. I would still say in a vacuum, if you ask me out of my head who the best individual player in basketball is, I'll still say LeBron James, because he still puts the numbers necessary to win. That's a win, so I say, because this year is a bad example. But he still puts the numbers necessary. But it can be argued also on the other side that he's no longer the best player in the league. The only reason I push back on that narrative is because if he's not, then who is? Because I'm not comfortable saying, as good as James Harden has been this year and the last couple of years, I'm not comfortable saying James Harden is the best player in the NBA. Giannis has had a great year. This is my MVP this year, but I don't think Giannis, this one singular phenomenal season changes that narrative immediately. Kevin Durant, sure, probably, but he's on a team with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. So it's hard to assess his impact when he's on a team that has so many weapons. It's an all-time great team. I don't want to give it to Kevin Durant. I don't win like that. But Steph Curry is also in the same conversation too. There's so many other factors into this. It's funny how one bad LeBron year, well, not LeBron year, but the Laker year, and it changed the entire scope of the league. But he's also turning 35 this year, and I don't think the want to or the desire to play LeBron James from other stars is as much a priority as it was maybe 5 years ago. Because the age, because of the scrutiny comes with it. You've seen Chris Bosh and Kevin Love get undue scrutiny through the years playing LeBron James. So is it worth it for a guy like Jimmy Butler or Paul George or any of those guys, second-tier stars, to come to play with LeBron James? What's the upside? Because you don't get the credit for winning, but you get the blame for losing. Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving were the exceptions to the rule because Dwayne Wade already won a title, years before LeBron came to Miami. Dwayne Wade was already a made man. It was still his franchise. Kyrie Irving, he had already put an impact as an individual player in the league. Yeah, they had their struggles, but Kyrie still had made enough imprint to garner that respect. He wasn't getting the blame in the way that Kevin Love was and Chris Bosh was. So what is the upside for a guy like Jimmy Butler, a guy like like I said, Paul George, and Klay Thompson? What is the upside of playing LeBron James? There really isn't much upside, especially LeBron at age 35. So this next year is going to be huge, and I hate to say this because I love the guy. He's my all-time favorite athlete, Magic Johnson. But this falls on him. This is all on him now. He's got to get it right here. He's got to get it right, or this is going to be the Lakers will sit back another couple of years, and the Clippers, by the way, yeah, we can talk about the 16 championships, but that doesn't matter now. Lakers fans say, well, we still got 16 championships. Yeah, that's cool. No one's saying it's not cool. You have 16 titles. No one's saying that doesn't mean anything. It does. But in the now, the Clippers are the more stable franchise in that market than the Lakers are. And that's without Chris Paul, Blake Griffin being there now. You know, they have a misfit of a team. You know, I mean, the Lakers, they got to get this right next 12 months, or they're going to be set back another 3-4 years again. And that is not a good thing for a team that's already missed its playoffs 6 years in a row. They better get it right soon. So for the last week and a half-ish, whatever, give or take, I've been on a big-time WWE, whatever you guys know it as is. I'm a WWF guy. I'm old school, so I'm a big fan of the Federation, so I'll always defend the Federation first. I've been on a binge again, and this is funny because I don't watch wrestling currently. Most folks that know me know I don't watch wrestling currently. I haven't watched current wrestling in real time in 17 years. In fact, the last big event I think I watched before I dropped off for good was probably, actually, it's not even probably, I know for a fact. It's 2002, Icon versus Icon. Hollywood Hulk Hogan against The Rock. And probably about a month after, maybe 2 months after that match at WrestleMania 18, I just stopped watching. Not because I didn't enjoy it, although I don't really enjoy it much anymore. But I think at that time I got into a band. I was doing music a lot back then, which means we were trying to get signed. Which means I was in practice every other day. I was doing shows. To be honest, I didn't watch a lot of TV. In fact, I probably didn't watch a lot of sports in general for a couple of years there. Between 2002 and probably 2004, 2005, my life was about music and the band and all that. So it wasn't just wrestling suffered; everything suffered really outside. All I did was go to work, and then whoever was dating at the time, hang out with them, of course, and then there was music. And that was it. My life was like that. Went to the gym, work, dated girls, and then did my music. There was a good 3-year run. That's 3 to 4 year run when that's what my life was. So back to on top of wrestling, I'm a diehard old school guy. Now, my favorite era, of course, I think I've said this many times over. Favorite era, of course, is the Hulkamania era. To me, it's like the golden age of wrestling. It's like when people look at the 80s, basketball, it was the best era. They always romance about the 80s and maybe the 90s. So to me, wrestling for me, the era I most romanticize is the 80s, and even the 90s too, but mostly late 90s, the Attitude Era. But when I became a teenager in 93, 94, I still watch off and on, but I wasn't a hardcore fan like I was growing up as a kid. I got into real sports, I got into football, basketball, all that, so wrestling was kind of a back burner thing. I knew what was going on, but I didn't watch it week to week like I used to. And then I came back to it again in the late 90s when I had the second boom of the Attitude Era. And again, still knew what was going on, still knew who was the title, who was the champion, all that, and what happened was some of the storylines, but I didn't watch it intently, then, in comparison, until 98, 99, 2000. So, why am I saying this? So, recently, and I find that the most fascinating year of the WWF, and it's probably the best year, maybe not financially, but it's the most important year of the company, was 1997. Now, 1997 was a big year because that was the year, and I think I may write about this one day. In fact, I know I will write about this one day, but maybe over the summer when I have some time. And so I want to do a podcast on this year too. But 1997 was the most important year, in my opinion, of the business. For both WCW as well, too, and WWF. But mostly WWF, because that's when their turning point happened. This is what the year that really laid the foundation of the Attitude Era. This is when Stone Cold Steve Austin's push really happened. Like, he got a push 96, obviously, after King of the Ring, 96, and he got, into the Austin 316, all that. But 97 was the year that really pushed him into the real championship bubble. This is also the year of Bret Hart, where he left the company at the end of the year. Shawn Michaels had another title reign. A lot of things happened in 97. Very important year in the business. And I never watched 1997 in real time. I don't think I watched it in real time either. I knew what was going on. I knew who the characters were, but I didn't watch it in real time as much. I just checked in here and checked out. And so I decided recently, and I started doing this a week ago, to watch every event from 1997, every Raw, and every pay-per-view. I don't want to on the superstars. That's just too much. Raw, because Raw I think is enough. Raw is one commitment a week. So I watched every Raw's War episode from January 1997, and I watched them in order. So I watched them in order, in date order, and then when the pay-per-view comes in that month, whether it's Royal Rumble, In Your House, WrestleMania, I'll jump in and watch the pay-per-view in the chronological order that it's supposed to be. And it's very fascinating seeing the growth of these people. The Rock, especially. He's Rocky Maivia. Now, he came in 96, obviously, Rocky Maivia, but 97 is when they started trying to push him as a superstar, a babyface superstar, and no one liked it. You can see for yourself. And that's the thing about, people say, well, wrestling's fake, and yes, I get it's fake. But the fascinating thing about wrestling, in comparison to TV, like watching a TV show, is that, unlike on TV shows where you're only limited to how ratings are, like you don't know how good a show is until you see the ratings of the show. Whereas in wrestling, because it's a live event, also too, on top of that, you can see firsthand the reaction, how people react to a wrestler or to a personality. So watching Rocky Maivia, who later becomes a Rock later in the year, and they're trying to push him as the babyface, clean cut, with the nice little, haircut, and he looks really good. He's definitely a guy you can push. If you're an old school guy, this is the kind of guy you can push as a baby face of your company. But no one liked him. And I think because that era, and you saw it shift in late 96 through 97 to 98 when the Attitude Era really was formed. You can see the crowd wanting more authenticity, which is why Stone Cold Steve Austin hit so big pretty quickly, even as a heel, even as a Stone Cold heel. No pun intended, by the way. And you start seeing Stone Cold build as a heel, getting more fans. Into 97, getting more fans. And you go through 97, he turns to a face by WrestleMania 13, and he's loved. Now, and by the way, nothing changes. He's still a heel. It's just that the fans are embracing him because he's authentic. Whereas the Rocky Maivia character, while he's a very talented wrestler, he's not being embraced because he comes off as a bit of a phony. But as you go through the year, eventually they figure it out. It works out that The Rock needed to get surgery after, I think, May of 97. He comes back, I think, maybe in July 97, and he comes back as a heel. So all the Rocky sucks and the die Rocky die stuff, the company was smart to use that as a way to turn him to a heel, use that negative energy, and that fits his character. And to me, The Rock's best run, and I know The Rock is a phenomenal wrestler, one of the all-time greats in the history of sports entertainment. But to me, his best run was at that point, right there in 97, mid to late 97, when he became a heel, and that build-up into 98. That was his best run. 1997 is such a fascinating year because while WCW was still beating WWF in ratings, it was the turning point for WWF. They found they found their niche in a way to get back in the ratings to beat Ted Turner. And it was to get more salacious, to get more honest, and to reflect more about what the world was at that time. And Vince McMahon, say love him or hate him, he figured it out. He's a smart guy. So I'm watching the whole 1997 again in order. I'm in March. I'm approaching WrestleMania 13. Now again, the reason I know what happened with Rock because I did follow it, but I just never watched it in detail. Watching in detail now is so fascinating because you can see the subtle turn of the company going from the new generation of clean cut product, but it's turning. Stone Cold's picking up steam, flipping the bird. You see more suggestive language, a little more sexuality in there too. It's great to watch. This is why I love wrestling. And people say, you're 39 years old, you watch wrestling. Yeah, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, but I enjoy it. It's great. It's truly great. So, I'll probably, do a podcast. Probably. By the way, we're dropping a podcast this week on the Mega Powers 30 years later of exploding at WrestleMania 5 on the feed. You should check it out. Same situation. So I don't know. I love it. I just love it. I can't help it. So I think we'll call it for today there. This week's gonna be a pretty interesting week on the podcast. Tomorrow I'm gonna be dropping the Mega Powers Explode 30th anniversary pod. I did it with Ray Moraldi. We actually recorded last week, April 2nd. Technically is the 30th anniversary. Also, we're dropping on the date. So you can check that out on the feed when it comes out. I might be dropping some throwback episode of my wife and I most likely later in the week as well too. Celebrating our anniversary. So it's gonna be an interesting week on the podcast. But again, you can follow me on Twitter at EJChristian7, Earnestly Media at earnestly.net. Until then, enjoy your week and until next time, see ya.